The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodlands Stud, Brecon Farms, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Stonewall Stud, the clubs Alexandra Park, Cambridge, Addington and Ashburton, Garrard's Horse and Hound, and IRT. It's your horse and our passion. Hi everyone, welcome into your Box Seat, and a big thank you again to our stable of sponsors. First time in 2021. I know I've had a month off, Michael Guerin, but I also know that you haven't had. There's been plenty of shows on trackside and plenty of other things outside of race days, and you've been on most of them. Hello to you.
Yeah, hi Greg. Big hi to everybody watching around the country, to all the harness racing fans. I hope you're back to winter over January. It's an expensive time of the year with all the socialising that goes on. I've had lots of fun, Greg, in both codes. I've been to some great harness racing meetings. I've also been to some sales, and we're leading into another bunch of sales. I think there's a little bit of correlation between the two, to be honest. We'll talk about that tonight. But what was really heartwarming, Greg, was to see young Hayden Cullen, and when I say young, we know he's not a child, he's an adult man, but get that first success last week at Addington, because when you take over the size and magnitude of a stable he did, Greg, the pressure's there from the word go, and I think that pressure maybe released a couple of points when Amazing Dream hit the line in front at Addington on Friday night.
That's one of the races we'll have a look at, Michael. Speaking of success at the highest level, Brad Williamson, winning drive number 1 at Group 1 level, came up across the Tasman, so we thought we'd open up with that and get straight into the Dullard Cup. It's been such a good race for New Zealanders for such a long time, and as we know with this horse, Michael, the great strength he has in particular is at the start and his gate speed, and that's going to put him into every single possible dance with a great chance in Australia.
Yeah, but here he is swinging for home. He absolutely smashed them in the Dullard. It's a Group 1, so let's let Dan Malecki bring home the first of what I'm sure will be many Group 1s for young Brad Williamson.
Galloped, but Majestic Man has run them ragged. Majestic Man, Brad Williamson, here's the Group 1, and Majestic Man does it in style. Wins by 10 metres to Sundawn's Courage, 40 metres away third. Majestuoso got down and...
Yeah, win number 16 for him in his career, and the emotion there from Brad Williamson, nice salute, and the fact that he was able to grab that on a horse that he's gone so close with over so many of our biggest races here in New Zealand was hugely received by not only him but his family back here in New Zealand. And earlier today, Michael Guerin had the opportunity to catch up with Brad in a rather serious interview with now Group 1 winning driver Brad Williamson.
Well, Brad Williamson joins us now. Brad, you're staying with your good mate Anthony Butt over there in Victoria, and behind you, your first Group 1 trophy. There's your Dullard Cup won by Majestic Man last Saturday night, mate. How did it feel?
Yeah, super feeling, Mick. Big thrill. You know, I've been trying to snag a Group 1 for a while now, and you know, we've had some nice horses of Dad's in a few nice races, and we've come up short a few times and been the bridesmaid a few times. But no, it was great to get one with Majestic Man, and it was good for the horse as well. He's really deserved one. He's been a consistent horse at the top level for a long time, and it was just great to finally break through.
Before we talk about what happened last Saturday night at Melton and what may happen this Friday night, big sacrifice, Brad, to go to Australia. Obviously, it's a good time to be had as well, but you're away from your own stable, away from your partner, away from life in New Zealand for almost 6 weeks, maybe even 2 months. How hard was it to make that decision?
Yeah, I didn't make it straight away, Mick. I had, you know, I sort of tossed and turned over it for a few days. Obviously, yeah, I was sort of probably letting a few people down back home in New Zealand that I drive for, you know, and, you know, I was just lucky that, you know, things are, like everyone understands the fact that Majestic Man's going over competitively and he's a realistic chance of snagging one of these Group 1 races. So, you know, hopefully, and now that he's done the job, I'm hopeful that, you know, everyone, all my connections back home, understands why it was important for me to come and go on the trip.
Mate, last Saturday night, the Dullard Cup, he jumped straight to the lead. We know that version of him from New Zealand. He would seem a horse perfectly suited to getting up against the marker pegs at Melton. Was it as easy as it looked?
Yeah, look, he led easily, Mick. I didn't really have to ask him for a lot to cross. Um, it probably wasn't the strongest Dallard Cup that we've seen with a lot of the best horses waiting for the Southern Star this week. So he rolled along at a good tempo. It didn't feel like we were running quite so fast. I think the track at Melton is absolutely flying at the moment, and it just felt like it's the first time I've driven at Melton, and it just felt like such a fast track. To me, the horse was feeling great and bowling along comfortably. He felt like he was running quarters in 30, and instead they were 29. So, he felt great the whole way. He's pulled up super through the run, so we're happy with him.
Heading toward Friday night, mate, it's the Great Southern Star. 2 heats of $50,000, also Group 1s into the final for $300,000. Obviously, separate horses in each heat, so you're competing in the second of those. You got barrier 5, and a couple of key rivals have pulled out. Majestioso is out of the Great Southern Star, so to his Dance Craze. I know it's a long way to the final, Bradley, but it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, no, things have come up pretty well at this stage. The horses, I'm actually surprised by how well the horses come through his run. He's been bucking and kicking out in the paddock. He's feeling fresh as a daisy. So, we've come up with barrier 5, which is good. I'm happy that we've drawn the front row. So, Tornado Valley's obviously a known gate speed horse over here as well. So, I'm sure he'll be with us for a fair bit of the way. Certainly early anyway, he's going to be pretty hard to get across. But, with this horse being so quick out the gate, it's such a massive asset to the way he races.
With there being the first 3 home guaranteed into the final, what happens if Tornado Valley kicks up inside you? Are you comfortable to sit parked outside him, or do you unleash the full fury of Majestic Man's gate speed in that first 100 metres?
Well, the way I see it, Greg, we're probably get as hard a run sitting parked the whole way as we do burning him to the lead. So, provided that he's all going well and we're there, I think we're probably gonna find find out the question as to how much gate speed we do have. I don't see any point pulling back.
Tell me, Bradley, do you miss Greg O'Connor? Because you just called me Greg, and that's a pretty jarring result.
Oh, Christ. I apologise to Greg for that.
Yeah, my hair's not that great, brother. Just talk about that trophy cabinet behind you there. There's your Dallard Cup, and there's some of Anthony Butt's spoils. That's just the last month for him, isn't it? He's won a Geelong Cup and a few more. Can you give us a bit of a tour of the cup trophy cabinet?
Yeah, this is what we got here. We've got a Bendigo Cup here as well. So, I'm sure he's got probably another house to hide his other trophies.
It must be great getting over there, mate, and getting that first Group 1, but also getting involved and learning some stuff and spending time with Anthony and Sonia and Andy Gath and those sort of people who you can only but learn things from.
That's right. Yeah. Anthony and Sonia have been great taking me in, and certainly I've already learned a lot being on the trip here for a short time, and it's been a great experience to be able to travel away with the horse. Obviously, I've been to the North Island a few times, but haven't travelled with one to Australia before. And meeting new people and racing at the top level, it's certainly pretty exciting. And there's always something you can learn off people that have been there and done it before.
What do you do differently about going into a heat and final on the same night, which obviously you've never done before, and most New Zealand horse people haven't done, than you would do if it was one normal race?
Well, I think probably the only difference, Mick, is just going to be the fact that we're probably going to have to, keep the horse moving afterwards and hope that he recovers well and drinks well after his race. I mean, it's sort of going into the unknown for me. Certainly haven't done this sort of thing before, but I guess we'll find out when it comes. I mean, I think it's sort of in the fate of the gods, as you'd say.
After this race, you've got about 3 more targets, 2 in Victoria, 1 in potentially New South Wales. So you could be away from home for a long time. Kieran Tomlinson's obviously looking after the team. That's a big bonus. I believe Mitchell Robinson's down there as well. So you've got a bit of support.
That's right. Yeah, we've certainly had a few people pull together and help us make this trip happen. So Alistair Black, big supporter of mine down south, and Ian and Lindsay Thompson, who I drive majority of their horses. Maddie's jumped in and filled that spot, and he trained a treble on the weekend. So the fill-in team's doing a great job. Kieran's trained a couple of winners of mine. back over in New Zealand since I've been away. So yeah, no, everything's going good as far as my camp goes. So I couldn't be happier with the way the racing's going at the moment.
What about the yearling sales? Obviously, these days, buying horses online seems almost natural. Do you have somebody looking at horses for you? Do you, in fact, have any owners for the yearling sales? Because they're just around the corner and you won't be home.
Yeah, look, we're looking at buying a couple. Obviously, I'm not going to be there, in the flesh. So I've got Dad. Dad's going to be. Oh, crikey. Have I lost him?
No.
Sorry.
Dad's
going
nice work on the phone, brother. Nice catch.
Dad's going to be doing the job there, and brother Nathan as well looking over. He's got a pretty couple of nice ones that he's managed to snag from the sales lately. So the couple of good judges there for me.
After this, mate, you have to come home and get Cracker Hill ready for his autumn campaign. You were telling me yesterday, not so much a row cut for him, but more concentrating on the jewels.
Yeah, the jewels is his main target. Mick, 4-year-old only race and just probably staying away from Sunday Suns of the world at this stage. It can be brutal racing them, in the way they race over a bit more distance. Oh, what have we got here? So, it's just got a call. It can be brutal racing them over distance. So we're going to stay away from them at this stage and, focus on the jewels as the main target.
Mate, you guys got a pretty busy social life by the sounds of things over there in Victoria. We better let you go so Ants can get back to the business of running a stable. Bradley, mate, good luck for Friday night, both in the first heat and in the second heat and on to the final, mate. And we're all hoping you go home with 3 Group 1s to your name, not just the first one you got home last week in the Dulles Cup.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Well, clearly, Michael, it wasn't as serious as I thought that interview was going to be, but that pretty much sums up Brad Williamson and his family, and maybe technology hasn't made its way to Oamaru as it has for the rest of the country.
Oh, we left those in. We could have edited them out, but it just sums Brad up. He's happy-go-lucky, away from the track, of course, on the track and in his own stable, a very serious young man about his business, as are all the Williamsons, but good fun away from it, staying with Anthony Butter and Sonia, Anthony's fiancée, and look, they're having a great time over there. Big sacrifice, Gregory, to leave your girlfriend, and obviously Brad's partner's a nurse, so she couldn't pop away for a couple of months, to leave the sales time when it's such an important time for a young trainer, and to leave Cracker Hill behind. So big ups to Kieran and to Mitchell who are looking after his team down there. But I think he's really arrived, Gregory, in Melbourne in the perfect situation. The Victorian trotters aren't that good, and 2 of the better ones, Majestioso and Dance Craze, are out of this race, out of the Great Southern Star. That's the big target this Friday. He's got the gate speed, and he's drawn, as we get to the heats, barrier 5 in the second heat. So for those who don't understand how this works, 2 heats, 2 separate heats, so 2 different fields of horses, fields of 9, race early in the evening on Friday night. It's all trotters at Melton on Friday night. Then 2 hours later, they race in the Great Southern Star for 300,000. Crucial for Majestic Man, he's drawn barrier 5, so wideish, but on the front line for his heat, Greg. He'll either lead or sit outside Tornado Valley. Top 3 guaranteed into the final. He'll get that easily. And then the question is, what does he draw for the final? Now, that's changed. There's been 4 Great Southern Stars run under the heats and finals system. 3 of them won by New Zealand trained horses in Stent, Vulcan and Speeding Spur. But back in those days, when you won your heat, you got to pick your barrier draw for the final first. It's a random barrier draw for the final. So, Greg, it's $1.60 to win the whole shooting box, which is, as I said, $300,000. But he could win his heat and draw the second line in the final. But it looks like they're only going to run 9 or 10, so he's about a 70% chance of drawing the front, Greg. I think it'd be a really popular win for a lot of people, not just in New Zealand, but Brad and Phil's friends and all those sort of types and fans in Australia, Greg. So he's clearly the horse to beat with those good Australians having doubts around them. He's up against Tornado Valley in the heat, but Tornado Valley's had his issues this summer and he's not as scary as he was a couple of years ago, Greg. So a little bit of an issue for many of the New Zealand harness racing fans. They'll have to stay up to really late, close to midnight on Friday night to see this all unfold, Greg, but I would love to see him win it.
Yeah, I would too. Barrier 2, Tornado Valley, Pink Galahs and Barrier 9. And the other of those heats, Michael, Tough Monarch in 2, McLovin in 5 and probably Red Hot Tooth. But yeah, all things being equal, if things roll out the way we hope they do for Majestic Man, he's going to take all sorts of beating. Of course, that's night 1. Night 2 will be the Hunter Cup, and later on we'll have a look at that, Michael, and have a bit of an in-depth chat about Lochinvar Art and whether he continues on his winning way. So let's come back this side of the ditch, go to Addington Raceway. Michael mentioned earlier getting that group race victory for Hayden Cullen in the early stages of his training career was important to get that monkey off his back, and at Addington Raceway last Friday night, Amazing Dream, the reigning Woodlands Auckland Cup winner, lined up at a pretty short sort of a quote. She had to work very hard though. Let's have a look at her taking out the Garrard's Premier Mares, the key lead-up race, of course, to the Group 1 in a fortnight's time.
To the inside, trying hard, doing a good job of it as well. Amazing Dream leads. Need You now coming. Amazing Dream just in front. She'll win it. Amazing Dream beats home Need You now. Third, Watch Me Now. Fourth, Maybe Change is good, just ahead of Enchante.
I'm picking that's a bit of a relief.
Massive relief, Greg. Yeah, I've been thinking about it all week. Yeah, she had to work very hard during the running, and she showed how good she was.
Excellent time, and look, she's such a great stayer. Was there a point halfway down you thought, nah, might not be tonight?
Yeah, I was screaming pretty hard, but yeah, she's a very great mare, and she always fights back.
To get that one under the belt, that means now you can relax a little bit, but when you've got the quality of her and others in the stable, going forward things are pretty positive.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've got a lovely team. Still got the likes of South Assured to line up and horses like that, so yeah, we've got a lot of firepower there, and yeah, we'll just keep doing our best.
All right, couple of weeks to the Group 1, you just keep ticking her over, and of course Mark in the bike always gives you that much more confidence as well. What did he say after that one?
Oh, he was right with her, she was always, she hasn't raced since the 31st of December, so she's going to improve a heap off this run tonight, so yeah, heading forward to the February the 12th, I think she's going to be a better horse again.
All right, you got yourself a Group 2, a couple of weeks to a Group 1, so all the very best.
Yeah, thanks so much, Greg.
John, another excellent effort.
Yeah, really good effort, Greg. I had the draw on my side though, and I made use of it early, and you split second at top of the straight. Might have come through and got her, but great mare and fought us off well.
A lap out, you did decide to hand up the lead, but you had burned a bit early, hadn't you?
Yeah, I did enough early, and she's actually really good, my mare, coming off a trail, so almost turned out a good drive. 2 weeks' time, we go to Group 1 level. What's going to need to happen for you to be able to beat her, because she is an exceptional mare, isn't she? Yeah, I need to draw good again, Greg, but like you say, she's one of a kind. Like, to take on the boys at Christmas in the Auckland Cup and beat them is, yeah, door me style thing. So, great mare, so yeah, it's going to be hard to beat her. Well, she was game again.
Yeah, she's just not quite as sharp off the gate tonight, so we might put the blinds back on for the run in a fortnight time. So she just had to work a little bit too hard to get across, but no, she never lets you down. She always tries so hard. 54-mile rate, sitting outside an Auckland Cup winner. It's not a whole lot of fun for plenty of horses, but she just seems to love it when they rough and tumble it. Yeah, it doesn't really bother her. She's quite happy sitting out there. She goes to sleep, and yeah, she's just becoming the entire racehorse really. Like, she's starting to learn to sprint off their backs as well, so she's not a one-trick pony now. She's starting to learn all that as well, so hopefully we can get a nicer draw and land a bit closer next time. Group 1, 2,600 metres. There's a lot of ticks there, but there's a mare called Amazing Dream in the road. Yeah, I'd love to land her back and not have to work too much at some stage or something along those lines. The 2-6 will really suit my mare, so yeah, fingers crossed, just looking forward to it. All right, she'll stay up with caretaker trainer and Brendan Hill for the next couple of weeks, and she seems to enjoy it out there. Oh, she loves it at his place, and we know how good a trainer he is. He's had cup winners and everything, so she's in a good place to be looked after. So an excellent time there, Michael, 154.4. Great result there for Hayden. Bit to like about Need You Now, and a very brave run from Watch Me Now, and going forward to the breeders. There's still a chance they can beat her, but she'll definitely improve. The only thing I wanted to bring up there, Michael, and I don't want to have a negative around Hayden's win, was the fact that the All-Stars runners are still in the All-Stars colours, if you like, of Mark Purdon and Natalie Rasmussen. I think there might have been an error there. I did ask Mark Purdon about it today, and he said Hayden has those colours through to the end of the season.
I don't think that's right. I think Hayden should have his own set of colours. If you're sitting in a pub somewhere in Australasia and you look up and see those, you instantly think Mark Purdon, Natalie Rasmussen. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that.
I had the same conversation with somebody somewhere. I was on Saturday night and they said, was Mark Purdon back training? I said, well, no, he's not. So there is that confusion element to it. Admittedly, most people who are going to bet on harness racing or any sort of racing have probably heard this story. But I also think colours are quite a personal thing. I've got my own racing colours. I know Karen, your wife's got her own racing colours. I would like to see them in those colours too, but I probably think the owners would like to see them in the blue colours because they're more intimidating. So you put all that into the mix. I would prefer to see them in Hayden's colours. It doesn't change my life a lot, but I totally agree with you. Optically, it's really hard to get your head around when you see a horse circling around at the start, with Mark Purdon in the sulky, by the way, that he's not training it. But he's not training it. Now, Mark and Natalie went there last Thursday morning to do some track work, but that wouldn't have helped Amazing Dream at all. So I think it might have been a cleaner break. Then again, Greg, are all these horses going to be back in those same colours again in 10 months' time? I don't know the answer to that. So my opinion is yes, I would like to see Hayden in his own colours because they're quite a personal thing, and I just don't want anybody thinking that Mark and Natalie are still training these horses because, as Hayden's been very public about, and so have Mark and Natalie, they're not involved on a day-to-day basis. Just talking about Mark Purdon. Went to the Wellington Cup on Saturday for the gallops and he was there with Natalie, and you can tell he's enjoying normal life. You can tell he's enjoying doing things that other people who work big teams of horses can't do, Greg, and a weight's been lifted off his shoulders. Do I still think he'll come back to full-time training in some capacity? Probably yes. But yeah, it was nice to see him looking refreshed and healthy and like someone who's getting some sleep.
Yeah, exactly. So Hayden will have his own set of colours from the 1st of August. But I did put it to Gary Woodham, the boss of Harness Race New Zealand, and he said they are looking into it. And I will also put a whole lot more questions to him when we sit down next week and have a chat about all things harness racing in his early stages of his new career. All right, let's get into another of the features out of Addington Raceway. It was won by Cranbourne. He's a real up-and-comer, this guy. Whilst he didn't half-pie want to come out about the 200-metre mark, when he did, gee, the quarter was very good, Michael. He hit the line strongly, and I think he's a horse that we can follow with plenty of confidence going forward, although he's definitely going to be better in 12 months.
Getting to Gilligan's Island, Nirvana Beach and off and gone deep on the lane, and Cranbourne, right over the top comes Cranbourne, moved up, took the lead and won it. Cranbourne beat home Laver, the margin about a half a head. Good effort first and second. Third and off and gone from Nirvana Beach, then Cheezel.
So he's 6 from 14 now. I spoke to trainer Brent White about how far he goes into the season. Look, I think he'd definitely go around in the Summer Cup at their Premier meeting next week, Michael, but whether he extends that right through to an Alexandra Park campaign for a Messenger Taylor Mile into the Jewels, he's just going to let the horse sort of do the talking there. There's so much ahead for him. He's only had he's only been lightly tried thus far, and yeah, he's definitely got really good ability. Laver was brave again. It's been in great form for an informed Dunstable.
Yeah, he's going well, Laver. I think he's improved quite a bit. I think Cranbourne's a horse who could end up in the New Zealand Cup this November or next November. He looks quite a good staying horse. And there's quite a few gaps appeared in the open class ranks with horses like Triple Eight and Star Galleria and horses being exported to Australia. The one thing I've noticed, Gregory, and Brett White's a really good trainer, so I'm not giving him a lecture or giving him any advice because he doesn't need my advice. The one thing I've noticed recently a lot more is horses struggle when they get to open class, and Cranbourne is going to struggle when he gets to open class because Self Assured's there waiting for him. I think 4 or 5 starts from what I've seen in the last couple of years in open class and then putting them aside is really good for them. I think if you go to an Easter Cup and you get beaten up and you get beaten up in a couple of races like a Rungy or a Classic, they learn so much more doing that rather than coming back in September and they're going, what the hell is happening here? These things are going way too fast for me. So I've seen a lot of it. Majestic Man's a key example. Majestic Man raced in those good races as a 4-year-old, was driven cold, and we all thought he was a sit sprint horse.
Yep.
But they learnt about him and he learnt about racing. So I think for those horses who are on the verge of open class, and Henry Hubert was another one, he sort of got there, had a rough and tumble season, and then came back better the next season. Even Classy Brigade was a bit like that. I think there's a lot to be said for getting a few punches, and going a few body blows, like a young footballer, and then coming back the next season a better horse. So I would give him his chance. I would give him his chance to get through to an Easter Cup. There's nothing worth racing for in August pretty much anyway. Do the big spell over the winter and give him a chance again heading into those other races. Very, very few horses in their first New Zealand open class campaign win New Zealand Cups. Mainland Banner did, Lazarus did, but most horses, Greg, particularly if they haven't raced in the derbies, which are hard on horses and harden them towards that sort of stuff, I think the more starts you can give them an open class before you put them aside, the better.
Yep, hard to argue with that, Michael. The Dominator got another win for Donna Williamson as well. And when this horse is in on the markers and rolling, we saw it in the Methven Green Mile for the Trotters, and again here at Addington Raceway last Friday night. Was a little bit too good for Doff Your Cap. They'll go head-to-head once again at Addington Raceway this Friday night. But he's a pretty smart animal when he gets his opportunity, and he was too strong here, Michael. 3:19, pretty good time. Home in 27.2, and the Doff Your Cap is going to make his way to open class as well, I think.
Doff Your Cap tries hard. The Dominator, Doff Your Cap's coming. The Dominator holding on. He will just win. The Dominator by a nose over Doff Your Cap. Third in Overzealous. Fourth to go by was Prez the Bell. Then one.
Yeah, good to see Overzealous making up some good ground as well late in the piece, getting back to something like her best form, so she's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the upcoming weeks as well. But Donna doesn't have a big team, but she's doing a good job, and there's the big smile of Craig Thornley, who's had a lucrative January as his performances across the coast, of course, at Reefton in particular, were outstanding. Let's go further south, Michael, pick up the Invercargill Cup and see the performance here of another Nathan Williamson horse. This one is Pembroke Playboy, and in front again, another great example on the markers. He got home, Michael, in 54.426.3, and he's really arrived, hasn't he?
He sure has. He's a genuinely very good horse. Here he is beating a former New Zealand Cup winner in the Fixer. Nathan's team is absolutely flying. Heartwarming and both sad story here about the horse. Of course, Chris Alcock owns the horse, and his late wife Colleen, who was fighting cancer at the time, said to him, "You should go and buy a horse to give you something to do after I pass away." An incredibly sad time that would have been for Chris. He has got himself a lovely horse, and he has got something to do because this horse will head to a New Zealand Cup. He went to see Nathan Williamson. They bought the horse together. It's a lovely story. It's a very human story. The fact the horse has turned out good, I'm sure Colleen is looking down from above and has a smile on her face. So I've never had a chance to meet Chris. I look forward to meeting him at the New Zealand Cup in November, Greg, because it's a lovely story. And Nathan Williamson is... I don't mean to get carried away with his ability, but for mine, with the All-Stars now changing configuration, Nathan is as good a trainer as we have in the country. I don't say that lightly. I realise there's a lot of people who have won a lot more big races than Nathan Williamson. He is as good a trainer of horses, I believe, as we have in the country, with the caveat that, of course, a Barry Purdon has such a gigantic body of work. But I'm talking about how many horses he's working now, the types of horses he's working, what he's getting out of them type thing. So I'm not saying he's Barry Purdon. I'm just saying if I was to send a horse to 10 trainers, I would expect him to get the same level of results that I'd expect Crandell-Getty to get, Barry Purdon to get, the Telfer team to get, and a whole lot of other people, Greg. And that's my honest opinion on where he's heading. Being in Southland may stop him getting some of those $100,000 colts. I think the way travelling is these days, it probably shouldn't.
Yeah, Regazzo Mark, another star for him, of course, the winner of the Wairio Cup. So, yeah, you're right about his team. They really are firing up. We're about to take a short break here in your first box seat of 2021. But, Michael, we've had a couple of recent deaths in the industry. I want to start with Pat O'Brien first. An enormous, you talk about bodies of work for harness racing across many, many decades at administrative level and, of course, as a trainer, as an individual and alongside his son, Mike. He trained and well over 300 winners. Probably the best horse, speaking to Mike, was El Campione, who won about 9 or 10, but they had horses like K and K's, Joe Tyler. They all won strings of races, and he has left an indelible mark on our industry, Pat O'Brien, and sad time for the family, but gee, did a massive job for the game.
And also kept harness racing bubbling along with Mike in a region of the country where it's not easy to keep it bubbling along. When you think of Blenheim and those regions, you think of the O'Briens. Pat was a giant for a man who wasn't a giant himself of the industry. So, yeah, I think administrators don't get all the credit they deserve. Greg, they cop a lot of criticism in harness racing because you can get hold of them. You can walk up to them and talk to them at the races. The other incredibly sad incident over the last month was Tony Shaw, who's a friend to almost everybody in harness racing and, of course, won an Inter-Dominion and New Zealand Cup, losing his, I believe, 14-year-old son, Greg, Hugo, who passed away in a tragic accident, an actual cycling accident caused around traffic. I didn't have the pleasure of knowing the young man. I know Shawsy very well, we all do. You're a lot closer to that situation, Greg. I know it's an emotional thing for you. Tony, everybody's thinking about you, to the entire family, to Hayley and everybody else involved. We know how horrendous this must be for you. We're a phone call away if you ever need us, or a hug or anything else you need, because it was a very sad moment over the last couple of weeks, Greg. And yeah, many people in both codes of harness racing have raised it with me and expressed their condolences to Tony and the rest of the family.
Yeah, exactly. He's a terrific young fella, Hugo, and they say only the good die young, but that's almost not relevant, really. It's really hard to put it into words, but Shawsy, we're thinking of you at this time, and yeah, Hugo will always have a pretty soft spot in my heart, I can promise you that. We'll take a short break here on the box seat, and on the other side, got plenty more harness racing action for you. Welcome back into your box seat. A big thank you again to our stable of sponsors. Without them, we simply would not be here. Let's go across the Tasman as we build towards the Hunter Cup on Saturday night, and the star of Australian harness racing in Lochinvar Art, Michael Guerin. This was his performance to win at Ballarat. Very good time, 57 mile rate, home in 26.4, and he's just a super racehorse, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's good. He's really, really good. And I think he's the best horse in Australasia, with Ride High injured. Self-Assured won't get the chance to prove me wrong, but as a 3-year-old, Self-Assured was better than Lochinvar Art. As a 4-year-old, Lochinvar Art was better than Self-Assured. He's got more things he can do in a race to win, I believe, than Self-Assured, and that's not slagging Self-Assured, because he just came out, of course, and won the New Zealand Cup. So here he is sitting parked and bolting home in 53.1. That was 10 days ago-ish. He's into the Hunter Cup on Saturday night. It's $500,000. For a lot of New Zealanders, they're going to go, well, I don't really care about the Hunter Cup as much because there's not many New Zealand horses in it. There's Triple Eight, who's headed across there. He'll be staying in Victoria. He's drawn Barrier 1. Greg, Star Galleria is also in the race. But the key fact is this. The two guns, Lochinvar Art has drawn 2 on the second line, and King of Swing has drawn 1 from the outside of the second line. King of Swing's the defending champion. But Lochinvar Art follows out a very quick beginner, a horse we all know well, in Alta Orlando. He should punch through. Lochinvar Art should, I know these things don't always work out this way, but should punch through behind him. And I put to Luke McCarthy, who often drives Alta Orlando and will drive King of Swing. But he's basically one of the trainers. His wife Belinda trains Alta Orlando. I said, what would you do? He said, I would hand up to Lochinvar Art. And I said, so that means you're sitting outside him on King of Swing? He said, yep, pretty much. Yep. So I think there's a resignation in that stable that potentially Alta Orlando would lead, hand up, because most of the front line's 100-1 yep. to Lochinvar Art. And Greg, that's the reason why straight after the barrier draw, the TRB put up $1.50 for him in Australia, and he was backed straight into $1.30. So everybody who plays these sort of things thinks Lochinvar Art's got to punch through, get the lead, Greg, and if he does that, you'd be absolutely stunned if he was beaten in the Hunter Cup.
Yeah, well, King of Swing, of course, had his prep run, if you like, last week, so we'll have a look at that now, Michael, and this is just King of Swing doing what King of Swing does. He did only beat Burnham Boy, and I say only Burnham Boy because we know Burnham Boy from here. He was a good middle grade pacer that was going to make his way through to Cup class, but he was excellent here in 53.5 mile rate, and it was a good pipe opener leading towards, of course, the Hunter Cup this week.
Yeah, I had a good talk to Luke McCarthy about this. He said, look, a lot more in the tank. We weren't getting carried away last week. He's not a horse who tends to win by big margins, King of Swing. He tends to lead and just go as quick as he needs to go. It was 2,400 metres, so it wasn't a mile. I think if they'd got another lap, Burnham Boy wouldn't have got any closer to him. But Luke said, yeah, we're going to need to improve, and he was very realistic about what the second line draw meant. When the barrier draws were done, Lochinvar Art drew the second line first, and Luke was thinking, new beauty, we could get the front line here, and then he didn't. So that's pretty much how that ended, Greg. He's realistic about it. He knows he's got to go down there. He'll drive him. Outside, probably Lochinvar Art. We know things don't always work this way. They don't always, there's gaps don't always appear, and horses following other horses out don't always get that gap. But that's what they are thinking will happen. And if you put the two horses next to each other and ran them in a straight line over a mile, Greg, probably close. Over distance, probably Lochinvar Art.
Yep.
But I don't think there's any straight line appearing this week. If he gets up against the marker pegs in the Hunter Cup, I'll be surprised if he doesn't win by 10 metres.
The racing in Australia is excellent. Of course, we've got the Hondo Grattan out of Menangle on Saturday night, and plenty of Kiwi interest there, Michael. Burnham Boy will go around in that. Also, Stylish Memphis. Spoke to Mark Jones today in the Jack Trainer colours. Just a bit of a problem there getting that sorted out before she starts this week. But on her New Zealand form, she'll take all sorts of beating. Also, there's Ranger Bomb and Mac Da Vinci, which was a last start winner too. So the racing over there over the weekend is going to be top class, isn't it?
Yeah, really good. So a lot of the good horses have gone to Victoria for this week. So other horses to look out for. Better in Force will contest the Ladyship Mile this week. That's at Melton, and she'll try and qualify for the other Ladyship Mile. There's two of them back at Menangle, and that she'll be up against Stylish Memphis. And a horse called Expensive Ego. Now he's the favourite for the Chariots of Fire, which could have had Copy, that an amazing dream in it, but won't have. Expensive Ego was in another stable, very, very good 2- and 3-year-old. Had soreness issues. He joined Belinda McCarthy's team because, just for those who don't pay attention to these things, Craig Cross was training the team at Cobbity, which is the farm Luke owns. He needed a leg injury, had surgery on it, so he had to stop training. So Belinda's now officially training the team. But it's a lot like the Chrissy and Crandale Giddy situation. It's actually probably both of them training, to be honest. Just so you know that when you see it. But this horse, that Expensive Ego, he's pretty darn good. He smashed them last week, and he's the horse to beat in that Chariots of Fire. He heads to the Bonanza this week. That's the race Lochinvar Art beat Self-Assured in last year. He'll try and win that at Melton, and then 2 weeks later he would contest the Chariots of Fire, Greg. So just for those who don't love the Australian harness because there's not as many New Zealanders there, a couple of names to look out for. Better in Force and Expensive Ego. For the 3-year-old ranks, no Derby this week at Melton. The Derby's been pushed back, the Victorian Derby, but the New South Wales Derby is going to go ahead, and that will see a very strong bunch of 3-year-olds. Look out for a horse called He Ain't Faking. He's a horse to look out for. From Bathurst, he's the sneaky tip for the New South Wales Derby, and I think you can get about $15 for him. All
right, we'll keep an eye out for him. Just wanted to show you one other race from across the Tasman with our good friends from Garrard's, of course. Comes to us from WA, 4-year-old feature, and you're probably thinking, why are you showing me this? Magnificent Storm, bred by Todd McFarlane out of Splendour, Michael, or our Splendour. Excellent performance here. One start in New Zealand, ran 9th at Alexandra Park, now 12 from 12 in Australia.
And just gaps them. Absolutely gaps them. Now, he was the favourite, second favourite, my apologies, for the Chariots of Fire. He's not coming to the Eastern Seaboard, so he's going to stay in WA, be prepared for their better races over there. But yeah, he's very, very good. We know how good our Splendour was. She was a really good mare, but not going to be making it to the Chariots of Fire. So a lot of horses, a lot of those markets, Greg, have been reconfigured because the New Zealanders aren't coming and Chicago Bull's not coming for the Hunter Cup and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of reconfigurations of markets, and also because of the long season last year, Greg, a lot of the Victorian horses raced till New Year's Eve. I think there's a lot of tired horses knocking around Australia at the moment.
Yep, totally agree there. We're about to take a short break again, Michael. When we come back, we're less than a fortnight out from the yearling sales. Yes, with New Zealand bloodstock, we'll have a look at some of the Woodlands draft when we come back. Welcome back into your box seat. Let's have a look at some of the Woodlands draft going forward to the New Zealand bloodstock sale. And the first of a quartet we're going to have a look at is lot number 95. This one, a Bettor's Delight out of the Group 1 New Zealand Oaks winner, Michael, in Ideal Bell. This is the family of 5-card draw, an elite bell. And yeah, he looks a pretty nice type.
He should be. He's by the best stallion maybe ever produced in the world, definitely the best stallion to ever stand in New Zealand. Out of a horse who was a national record holder, very good horse, won the New Zealand Oaks. She's a big, strong mare, Ideal Bell. He's an early foal, which really helps as well. Only 2 dams on the page. It's a proper family, and he's a proper colt.
This is lot 128 by Sweet Lou out of Madison's Delight. Should be pretty sought after, this colt as well. Of course, Madison's Delight, the mother of American Dealer.
Yep, there's a family which had a massive upgrade in the last 12 months. Good, solid, big, girthy type of a horse. Again, will sell well, Gregory, but we'll talk about the overall sale later. By the way, when we are talking about these horses, great work in all the videos. I haven't seen them all, the confirmation of them all and all the joints, and done the vet report. So we're giving you the page knowledge we have. You can make of that with your eye what you like.
Yeah, lot 131 here by Down by the Seaside out of Major Spirit. Again, this is a good family. Bettor's Spirits, Dracaris, who's done such a good job across the Tasman. Pretty sought after, this colt too, I'm picking.
The Down by the Seasides are interesting because at the wheeling sales last year, left nice, big, upstanding wheelings. Not totally different, if not a bit lighter than the Art Majors. They stand up tall and they've got a nice bit of shoulder to them. So I'm not surprised the weanlings had developed into nice horses. That's a very strong family which produces a lot of winners. That Better Spirit side of the family is very, very strong.
Yeah, lot 134 by What the Hill out of Miss Pegasus. She was an outstanding racehorse herself, winning 9. She's already left Miss Crazed, who's won 3 from just the 11 starts. And again, this one, this colt will be pretty sought after as the last lot on the first day of the sales, of course, out of Auckland.
Yeah, family Mary and I, Tailored Elegance, Pretty Sunday, just a fast family, a family of horses who get the job done. So look, Woodlands have a quite amazing bunch of horses, as do Brecon Farms. Greg, I'll be honest, last week I was doing the galloping sale, so I deliberately didn't start getting into this catalogue and trying to dissect it because I didn't want to confuse myself between the two things. That would have been embarrassing. When I looked at this catalogue, and I thought long and hard about this, and I've made a couple of phone calls because I don't want to be someone who's trying to rah-rah this, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart, and I've checked it with 3 or 4 people I know who I trust who have also been buying for a long time. This is the strongest book I've ever seen produced in this part of the world. That boutique sale, the 134 minus withdrawals at Karaka, is by far, and I've been buying horses on my own for 28, 30 years at Karaka and in Christchurch, strongest book ever. It is unbelievable. Now that's not any rah-rah promo stuff. We're not getting paid by New Zealand Bloodstock Standard Breed to tell you this. Page and page and page again, Greg. I just keep turning the pages and thinking, oh wow, there's a brother to that, and there's a brother to this. I'm not sure there's too many $250,000 colts in the book. I'm not sure it's that type of sale where someone's got to go gaga googa over a brother to something. But the average at Karaka's around 50 grand, Greg. I reckon I saw 40 or 50 horses turning those pages when I did my research for this, where I go, yep, I'll bet on that. I'll bet on that, and I think it's a really commercial family, and then again and again and again. As I said, I don't say it lightly. I'm not trying to bullshit anybody or try them to get to buy a horse they don't want to buy. That Karaka catalogue, and I haven't looked at Christchurch yet, so my apologies to the Christchurch vendors. I haven't looked at it, Greg, because I'm trying to do these sales in order so I can keep them that way in my head. Strongest standard breed catalogue I've ever seen in the Southern Hemisphere. People may say, well, you're not old enough to have seen them in the history of this sport. I agree. But I've been doing that for 30 years, And before that, Greg, people retained a lot more horses.
Yeah.
Back at the sales 30, 40, 50 years ago, people bred horses and kept them on the farm. We had families like the Reeds who bred horses and kept them. What we've got is a situation here where Brecon Farms breed them and sell them. And Woodlands breed them and sell them. And Alabar have a couple of Always Been Mickeys that are going to be really popular this year because he's just gone crazy in the US. It actually stunned me, Greg, how strong that catalogue is, and I can't wait to get to Karaka. They parade on the Saturday the 13th.
Yep.
They sell on the Sunday. Man, it's going to be really, really heated there for those good colts.
Yeah, and we'll have a look, thanks to Woodlands for providing us with those videos, we'll have a look at some of Brecon Farms next week. Speaking with Ken, 33 of the 36 yearlings that they offer have Group 1 black type in either the first or second dam. So what Michael's saying, the proof is in the catalogue. All right, let's continue our box seat for the first show of 2021, and we look forward to what's ahead in terms of harness racing. And here's a look around the nation to see what's ahead for you. Thursday night, double header for Addington. 10 races both Thursday and Friday night. First of those, 5:10 on Thursday night. And Friday night, we just go back a further 10 minutes. Really good program. Looking at those in a moment. Lone Star New Zealand Sire Stakes, 3-year-old prelude, $16,000. A very good race. Alexandra Park have 9, including Young Guns Heats, Crombie Lockwood, Brecon Farms, and then the Neville first heat there, $18,000 for that one. Cambridge have a good program Saturday night. The Waikato Trotting Breeders is their richest race, but they've got the Denny Johnson Waikato Guineas and those Gold Cups along with the Fajurity final. So good program there Saturday night. Sunday, Winton, 10 races there, 12-12 if you want to get involved in that on Sunday. Monday, it's Amberley Cup Day. They always have a huge crowd. That's Waitangi Day, of course. 12:22 the start time, 10 races there. And the week's not completed without Oamaru with the 8 races there, 1:53 the start time there. Of course, Alexandra Park on Friday night. Michael Krug will be there. Spoke to Crandell Getty today. Tony Hula, he will take the drive behind him. He's in race 7. I think he's number 7. He's not the only star there on Friday night.
No, and another one for Tony Hurley. Bolt for Brilliance is back up against Temporale. It's a handicap trot, so it'll be a slightly tricky race, but we all know how good Bolt for Brilliance is as he warms through this next campaign, heading to races like over the Auckland Cup Carnival, and then of course potentially, if Tony wants to go there, to the Rowe Cup and maybe even the Jewels. So sort of feels like, Greg, even though Amazing Dream was really good last week, and we've had some wonderful racing in the deep south, we've sort of just had a little bit of time to relax and enjoy ourselves over January and just back off the really serious stuff. But yeah, the rubber hits the road this week, Greg, because we have some good horses racing in the north, lots of talented horses racing around the country. Cambridge got a great meeting. And Greg, those sales next week are going to be huge and really important because, again, like the galloping sales, no Australians here. Brett Lilly, a former New Zealander now living in Australia, has come back for the sales, but most people won't, Greg. So we know from the galloping sales the online platform works really well. I'm sure the Australians will be wanting to buy, and I think they'll be strong, particularly some of the breeding families over there looking to get into some of our better fillies. And there's plenty to choose from, Greg. And again, I don't mean to insult the Canterbury catalogue because I haven't had a chance to look at it. I know you have. It'll be outstandingly strong too.
That is.
I think we're in for a really positive 3 or 4 days in that period. If you want to know more about it, you know the website address, go to NZB or NZBS, either or. They'll end up in the same place, Greg. And it should be a lot of fun. We're both going to be there for the sales, and it's always a great time to catch up with people. But people on the yearling tours are telling me there's good numbers, Gregory, so there's good signs. Yeah,
there certainly is. $3.50 to win the Derby. He is Krug, American dealer, about $4. And a whole lot of markets out at tab.co.nz if you want to check those out. Just a footnote too, Tony Hula, currently on 988 training wins. He'll become the 9th trainer to get to that 1,000 win club. So, he's done that incredibly quickly in less than a couple of decades. Let's go to Addington Raceway. I mentioned that race number 3. It is the Sire Stakes Prelude. And I want to go to a trial that we need to have a look at. And this is 5 Wise Men taking it out. Picks up Want to Play With Me, who actually won of course, in New Zealand record time at its last campaign, and that's Dubois in the dun colours hitting the line strongly too. But I think 5 Wise Men will take all sorts of beating in the market out with him at around $2.60 ahead of Want to Play With Me, $3.60, and Time Up the Hill at around $5. So Yeah, it's a pretty nice horse this. So out of Harriet Hughes by Muscle Hill, and it comes up with barrier 3 in race 3 on Friday night. The other race we wanted to preview was with the Dominator, who dominated last time, of course, and we already had a chance to have a look at this video, but to remind you of how good he went, he has come up in this race, a $6 second favourite, equal second favourite with Splash Cola, $4.20 about Doff Your Cap. But if these two go as well as they did last week, they should go pretty close to Quinellering again, race number 7. Although, Michael Guerin, we're going to hear amongst your best bets that that might not be the case, because the recent workout winner Midnight Dash returns to Addington Raceway.
Yeah, Greg, haven't had a chance to check that market if it's open. What is Midnight Dash paying? Because I like him each way. I think he's a high-class horse coming out of some high-class 4-year-old races, of course, then into the carnival. So if they're giving $6 for the others, Gregory, he might be a touch of value. So yeah,
$2.90, Michael.
There you go. See, you ruined
Sorry,
my
mate,
afternoon.
I didn't mean to do that.
You ruined my afternoon. I was going to scoot down the TAB.
Yep, $2.90, but he is smart enough, and he's got barrier 1. So
it is a 2,000 metre standing start.
Yes,
and
yes,
I hate 2,000 metre standing starts. That's how much I like him. I've picked him in a 2,000 metre standing start, even though I hate it.
All right, we've got some bookie results, of course, from the recent week, the hits and misses, if you like. So have an opportunity to have a look at them now. Pembroke's Destiny, nice land there for the Brendan Hill Bard at $11 from the outside of the second row. Really dominant win. Shanika at nice odds, fresh up. Cranbourne, we've already talked about him. If You Say So is talented, and $999 at $4.20. Okay, and of course those misses there. The Fixer at $1,500 at $3.80, just going down at the Invercargill meeting. A big thanks to our team from the Tab. And as I mentioned before, a whole lot of markets out, including those Young Guns finals if you want to get involved in them. Team Teal's underway, both sides of the Tasman. Full details at hrnz.co.nz if you look out under Team Teal. But it's always a great campaign, Michael, raises a whole lot of money and awareness around ovarian cancer, so we look forward to this campaign right through to the middle of March.
We sure do. It's a great chance for harness racing to show the general community how much we care. So everybody gets behind it. It's great to hear that there'll be sponsorship from people like Woodlands and from clubs involved, and of course Harness Racing New Zealand and from Southern Harness. So get behind it, hrnz.co.nz. If you back a winner over the next 6 weeks and it's got some teal anyway involved in it, if you've got a couple of dollars spare, log in, do the right thing and try and help us research one of those hideous things and try and make it less of an impact on people's lives.
Yeah, Sam Otley, Ellie Barron, Nikki Chilcott and Alicia Harrison are our ambassadors, and great to see Mark Hurrell and his family getting in behind the campaign as well. They're going to donate $50 for each and every win there. Okay, Michael, best bets of the week. We know what yours is in Midnight Dash, and $2.90. Yeah, barrier
enough.
1. Yeah, I think it's close enough. Yep.
If it steps away well, I think it's there's three of the favourites are on the unruly, so over 2,000 metres, as long as it's not a walk-up start. And I don't think it will be. Then we should be fine, Gregory. I think he'll be able to settle handy enough. And look, he probably is not at his peak, but it shouldn't matter too much over the 2,000. Beach-trained horses tend to be ready to go.
Yep, Plutonium Lady for me goes round the junior drivers race, comes out of the Group 2 Garrard's Premier Mares race from last week, had no luck, found the line strongly. Ali Barron, understand, will take the drive, and yeah, I think Plutonium Lady will take all sorts of beating in that one. A couple other things I wanted to raise with you, Michael. Diamond Creek Farm New Zealand Derby at Addington, nominations closed for that next Wednesday, so make sure you get those in, and it'll be a terrific field, of course, headed up by Krug.
It will be. I still think this 3-year-old crop's got a few moving parts to it, Greg. I mean, how good BD Joe comes back is going to be interesting. Regaza Mac, how good he is going to be interesting. So, yeah, Krug's a very good horse, and he could win both derbies. It wouldn't surprise anybody. But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a horse like BD Joe did in the spring emerged to challenge him, an American Dealer and some of those other horses, because there's no champion in this crop yet, Greg.
No, there is not. Premier meeting at Addington Raceway next Friday night with the Group 1 breeders. Of course, we'll have an opportunity to wrap up all things Australasian harness racing because, as you've heard throughout the show, Michael, the latter part of the week, Friday with the Great Southern Star into the Hunter Cup across the Tasman and our very own very good meetings at Addington Friday and Alexandra Park into Amberley on Monday. It's going to be a full show next week.
It is, Greg. By the way, important note I wanted to say, Courtney, who everybody knows from Harness Racing New Zealand, Courtney's taken the next week off because she's going away to get married, which is awesome. So, Courtney, congratulations to you. You do an enormous amount for the industry. I know that from filing stories, that so does Johnny and so does Josh and all that sort of stuff. You're obviously a huge part of the team Teal and the junior drivers and stuff. So, yep, I think Harness Racing New Zealand will be lost without her. So she's having a well-deserved 10 days off, and we hope the big day is the wonderful occasion we know it's going to be.
Yep, we certainly endorse that and wish you all the best, Courtney. All right, that's been your box seat for this week. Michael and I will see you in 7 days' time.